We're back. Welcome to the channel today, and if you like what you're hearing, subscribe. Maybe ring the bell so when we put something new up, you can join in listening to the words of wisdom that we have to put forward. If they are words of wisdom, that is, for you. Welcome again. We're always happy to be here to discuss the things going on in the world. Things that we may not see sometimes or hear or even understand, but we often feel as an undercurrent. One of the things that I would like to talk about today is change versus correction. There was this great theologian and minister in the Unitarian Universalist movement named Bill Jones, who spent much of his life studying apartheid, anti-racism, and oppression and how it worked. And he also worked on ways of trying to end oppression. One of the lines he used to say frequently is this: that a system that is habitual and is doing something over and over again is quick to change, but it won't correct the problem or the issue. And the more willing it is to change, most of the time, you see, the more concrete that underlying issue is. We are in a place right now, we're in a world right now that is willing to change over and over again, to change the faces, to change the people, to more diverse, to look more multicultural. They pick up new words, new labels, new understandings of religions, of various ethnicities, races, sexual orientations, genders, all of these things, and they are quick to embrace that along the edges, you see. And even if the laws and the courts begin to embrace it, something happens. The system changes, but the problem of discrimination, of hatred, of violence and depression pointed towards all those various groups I've talked about, they don't disappear. Because the one issue that needs to be addressed never is. And the one issue that I am talking about that needs to be addressed is the fact that many of us, regardless of race, sexual orientation, gender, ethnicity, nationality, or immigrant status, many of us, about 60 or 70% of the people in the United States, are living paycheck to paycheck, and if some accident had happened that would cost more than $400 or $500, they couldn't afford it, and their whole household income would go into shock. And in the Philadelphia area, you have almost 70% of the people either living at the poverty level or close to the poverty level. While this is happening, we have 1% of the people with 40 or 50% of the goods, and 10% with 90% of the goods, and everybody else fighting over 10%. We blame this on all kinds of things, but the problem is that there is no inherent and worth and dignity given to each and every person. There is a certain mentality that is carried deeply within the nation, coming from something called social Darwinism, which is a bastardization of the Darwin theory that says that those who have more deserve more, and those who have more should be able to breed more and spread their wings more for the improvement of the race of humanity, and the other ones should basically be economic slaves. or tools to enslave other people. And that is the major issue that has never been taken care of. And until we take care of that, we will find ourselves running from one place to the next, trying to pass out band-aids or trying to make little improvements. But when we make those improvements, even if they look good and they are working, after a few years, as we have seen now, the same problems will come back. It's like the Taoists say, if we want to work on the tree, we don't work on the leaves and branches. We don't work on the outgrowth. We work at the root. We have been working on the outgrowth of all of these issues for years and years and years, and I don't think we should stop doing that. But I think it's time for us all to get together and realize that the root needs to be worked on. Part of the root is at the systemic level, the institutional level. Much of it is at the personal level. If you cannot look into the mirror and be satisfied and happy about what you see, you are experiencing the root of the problem. The root is lack of self-acceptance, lack of love, lack of self-care, a lack that comes from delusion, ignorance, not realizing as you look into that mirror that that body you're in, that physical entity that you're in, had a merger. It had a marriage with the spirit or the internal self, and the two of you would go through life with that body as a carriage, sending in feelings, reading and perceiving all around you in an attempt to protect you, sending in feelings and emotions, carrying you and being your heart and hands in this world so that you, through your divinity and your wisdom and grace, could reshape the world into something beautiful and wonderful. And now you have forgotten this sacred marriage, and you look at this beautiful thing and you think of it as something that needs work or needs help or needs to be esteemed by someone else, when what we have right now, what you're living in right now, is a miracle. Hundreds of trillions of cells working all together in harmony, sending messages to each other at the speed of light or faster, to move and to live and breathe in certain ways. Many organs working together, many organisms, bacterium in the belly that helps dissolve your food and send nutrients everywhere. Many germs and living beings all around the body that can communicate with us if we develop the intelligence, the power, and the ability to hear what is being said to us through various feelings and emotions, if we're able to sift out what people have crammed into our heads from what divinity is always passing on to us. So that is the objective. Not getting the latest type of clothing or being in the place where all the cool people go, or wearing the latest styles, or driving the latest car, or having maybe a house with 10 rooms when there's only 2 of you or 1 of you living there. That's not what it's all about. What it's all about is awakening that divinity within the self. And we begin to awaken it by what is known as agape. Agape is self-love. Agape is about doing. It's not about feeling. It's not a feeling. It's the way that one is treated kindly and lovingly, regardless of who they are, what they are, how they look. And when we live in a state of agape with ourselves, we treat ourselves kindly and lovingly, and we look out for ourselves in the long run. We don't do things that are quick and fast without realizing that we can be damaging ourselves in the future. We create a field of love that surrounds us and engulfs us. And out of this love grows the divine entity at the center of our beings that many call the true self. There is no true self without being engulfed in and carrying the light of love. And that, as I said, has nothing to do with feeling. Agape is an action. And from that action, the other types of love flow. I went to a didgeridoo man presentation once, and he said something that made a lot of sense. The didgeridoo man said, if you go out in the world and you're trying to spread love and kindness all over the place, you'll drain yourself, you'll burn yourself out. The idea is to bring that love and that kindness into yourself. Fill yourself with love and kindness and peace until it is overflowing to other people. We must start at the root. And the root of each and every one of us is to be loving and compassionate with the self until it overflows and creates homes, communities, and institutions that will spread this loving kindness. Now, I'm not saying not to do anything else. In our world of dualism, we always find ways to think it's either or. We think we either have to be going out in the street and shouting and fighting, or we have to be sitting and meditating and contemplating. It's not either or. We can choose to do either one, or we can choose to do both of them. The main thing is that the one that I'm talking about has to be done, because the other will not work unless human beings are changed at the individual level, the level of the heart. And when that happens, the institutional level is a lot more easy to change, and the greater society is. Being like a well, bubbling up into everlasting life, is how it was stated in the Greek scripture. You don't have to be a Christian to do that, or a Muslim, or a Buddhist, or a Hindu, or a follower of the Judaic religion. You can just be a person who is in love with the great mystery, aware of the beauty and the wisdom and the things around you, and one who is willing to commit yourself to agape, the unconditional love that is an act of will, not an act of feeling. As you look in that mirror and you look at that person thinking back, just continue to look and think about it, and think about the feelings that this being carrying your soul and spirit is going to go through in the future and has gone through in order to fulfill its obligation to be a vessel, a chariot, so to speak, bringing you into a world that is material, fearful, and painful, and carrying you through adventure after adventure. Look at it. Think about it. Love it for its dedication to who you are, and then work through agape love to heal it. Namaste, folks. If you want to learn more about us, go to our website. We'll have some information down below. Thanks for being with us again. It's always good to be here.